Hi, Michael. How are you doing?
Well, it's a little early for me here, but I figured
Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Hello,
7,
Katrina. How
7
are you
a.m. Yeah.
doing?
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. Hello, Antonia. I feel like I can't have a forum now without seeing your lovely face every week. So thank you for joining again. Hello, Christopher. Hope you're doing well. And hello, Francis. Good to see you again.
Hi there, Mitsani. Yeah, good to
Hello
see you.
there. Okay, so I'm just seeing who else. I'm going to let the room run for another few minutes, another 3 or 4 minutes, just to see who else is joining us.
Mhm.
Hello, Emma. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. And hello there, Emma. Hello, Karim. Hopefully, you'll be able to join us. I can see your audio is connecting. While we're waiting to see who else is joining us, what I'd love for you guys to do is go into the chat and just put in what you'd like to gain from this session. Today's session is all about how to use ChatGPT or other AI. Actually, I'm a fan of Gemini, which is Google's version of
Mhm.
ChatGPT. But I'll be covering editing, how to use it to edit. Now, I'll be talking in terms of books, but to be honest, editing is editing. So it could be to edit your articles, social media posts, whatever it is, whatever written content.
Mhm.
Okay. So go into the chat and put in what you'd like to gain from this, because it could be that you've got questions that I don't cover. Then I want to make sure I cover this either in the Q&A portion of today's session, or if it's a really, really juicy topic, I may even dedicate a whole forum session to it. So just go into the chat now. Oh, we've got a couple of more people. Oh, thank you, Anthony, to be inspired to start this week. Wow. don't put too much on me there, but okay, Antonia. Hopefully I'll be able to inspire you. But yes, just go into the chat and put in what you would like to gain from this session, or if you've got any particular questions. Hopefully I'll be able to answer that in my presentation. But like I said, if it's something that I spot that I can't answer, then I'll make sure I answer it in the Q&A portion. So just go and do that. Oh, we've got a few more people coming in. Okay, welcome, Alex. Lovely to have you here. Welcome, Joycey. Lovely to have you here as well. Okay. I'm just going to let the room run for another minute. And yes, just go into the chat. So Chris is saying, I'm a newbie, so I'm finding out more about what Mitali has in store for these sessions. Excellent. Well, hopefully I'll be able to dazzle you today. Okay.
Never wake up. That's
Kareem,
right.
welcome, Kareem. I think it's your first time. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, just go into the chat and let me know what you would like to gain from this session. And then that will give me a good idea so I know that I'm covering everything and I'm keeping people happy. You're giving me 45 minutes of your time. I'm sure every single one of you is extremely busy. So for you to give me 45 minutes of your time, I'm sure you want to gain something from this. So please do go into the chat and let me know what
All
you'd
right.
like to get from this session. Katrina says, dear to Christopher, as a new author. Oh, so you already have a book, Katrina? Have you published your book? Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. So let's get started. We may have a few more people who join us as we carry on, but I don't want to keep you guys waiting for too long. Oh, we've got another. Welcome, Sandra. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, so let me get started. Okay, so can everybody see this? Thumbs up so I know. Excellent. Can I also ask that you put yourself on mute just for the next 10 to 15 minutes? Because I am walking and talking at the same time. I'm multitasking. And if I get noise, you might see me falling off my treadmill or ending up back in that bookcase over there, which is the last thing you want to see. So if you just put yourself on mute now, just so I don't get any distractions while I'm doing my very, very short presentation. Okay, so first of all, let me just start this. Welcome to the Thought Leader Author Forum. A few of you have been here before, but I've got a number of new faces as well. So welcome to the Thought Leader Author Forum. So this is how the forum works. So this is for the newbies. The people who've been here before, you will know how this works. So the forum operates in two parts. The first part one, is where we talk about the topic of the day. So today's topic is all about book editing with ChatGPT, the exact prompts that my editors use that can save you time, energy, and money. Okay. And then part two, my favorite bit of the forum, is when I take questions. This is when you can ask questions about editing, about prompts, about AI in general, anything you like. You know, this is where you can ask questions. So do use that. It's my favorite part of the forum. There's a reason why I wanted to create a forum and not a weekly masterclass or a workshop, or because I talk a lot for my living. And I get sick of my own voice most of the time. I actually quite like it when I have a discussion with people and I'm able to, you know, give people what they need, as opposed to just assuming I'm saying what they need to hear from me. So please use part two to be really vocal and tell me your thoughts, give me your feedback, ask as many questions as you like. Also, for attending this, what will happen is tomorrow morning, my assistant will send you out this workbook. Okay. Got some sound. I'm going to see if I can. Okay, there we go. You'll get this workbook. This workbook will go through all the prompts I talk about today, plus it'll give you several more prompts for you to use in far more detail than I can today. We only have 45 minutes together, folks. So, you know, I put together a far more detailed workbook that you will get emailed to you tomorrow. And then that way, if you want to scribble down notes today, you can do. But you don't need to. Everything will be emailed to you tomorrow morning. So you have this as my gift to you that you can use whenever you want to edit any kind of written work. Just pull out this workbook and you've got all the prompts in there. Okay. And also to thank you for coming to the Thought Leader Author Forum. I will send you, in fact, let me actually put this link. I'm going to put this link into the chat now. I'm going to see if I can put this link into the chat now. And then that way, because I'm going to email this to you as well tomorrow, but it's actually better. There we go. So if I put this into the chat now, while you are listening to me, I'm going to put this in there now. There we go. So I urge you all to go to that link, and what that link will do is allow you to choose one of these amazing courses, and we will make a donation on your behalf. So it doesn't cost you a penny or a cent if you're over in the US. It doesn't cost you anything, but it just means that you are able to make a donation and we will do it on your behalf. Okay? So let's get started. So I ran a poll earlier this week and I wanted to ask my network, would you trust ChatGPT to edit your book? And as you can see, a resounding number of people said no. And it's understandable. This is just some of, as you can see, I've got 59 votes. I think I had 60 plus comments on there. So this is just a small selection of the comments that I got. So you've got Nikki saying, AI is only as good as the human user. So I'm conflicted. That might be my own fears playing through. It's very true though. AI is a tool and it's all about the person who's using the tool. So there's a lot of people saying, oh, it doesn't work, it's rubbish. That's because they're not using it correctly, okay? We've got Heather saying it makes sense for some of the processes, but for me, it could edit out the nuance and the humanity. Not for me, thanks. Very, very true. If you just use it indiscriminately, you create something that's very generic, and people can tell usually that it's been AI generated. That's the last thing you want to do, especially if you're writing a book. But even if you're writing a LinkedIn article, you still want people to feel, well, think about it, that's all social media. Whenever we're creating content for our businesses, whether it's on social media, whether we're blogging, whatever it is that we're doing it because we want to attract people into our world and for people to go, oh, that person seems really cool. I'd like to work with that person. I'd like to have a business relationship with that person. You can't do that if the tone of your writing is cold and artificial. So yes, you want to make sure that you use it as a tool so you don't edit out the nuance and the humanity. Elaine says, I would certainly give AI a first pass at the job, but would never just accept or use AI without adapting responses to my own voice. Absolutely true. There's a reason why I still have 3 fantastic human editors in my publishing business. If AI was that amazing, I could do without my editors. They charge me a lot of money, so I would do without them. The reason that I keep them on, and I will continue to keep them on probably for many years, is that AI is a tool to be used. not as a replacement for human beings. And Dan says, no, but that's not the same as letting it help me write it, which I would do. There you go. So he's saying it's using it as a tool. That's the key thing. So that's what I'm going to show you to do today. Some of the key prompts that my editors use when they're editing books for my clients. Now, before I go any further, a little bit of a warning. That's just me giving you a little bit. Look at my face there. Look at me grimacing. That's one grimace, isn't it? Katrina's laughing at me. Yes, that's a woman who's saying, warning, listen to me. The main issue that I've seen a lot of people have with whether it's ChatGPT or any of this regenerative AI is the fact that it can take the human being out, but also that it can put false information in there. Something called hallucinations. I figured that out a few weeks ago. They call it hallucinations. That is the main thing you need to look for, okay? One of the reasons why I actually prefer using Gemini is, Gemini, by the way, for people who don't know, is Google's ChatGPT, if you want to call it that, okay? The reason I prefer Gemini, it can still hallucinate, by the way, but the reason I prefer Gemini is it's actually linked to the internet in real time, okay? Whereas ChatGPT isn't. Now, there are ways around it. Apparently, if you use Microsoft Edge, you can put a plugin into it, then you can use ChatGPT, or they call it Copilot. I don't know why they called it something else. It's just using ChatGPT, just to confuse someone like me, I think. But there are ways around it. But that's the major issue with ChatGPT, that if you don't have this workaround with Microsoft Edge, then it is, I think ChatGPT 3.5, the free version, only has information up to 2021 on the internet, or the beginning of 2022. If you upgrade up to ChatGPT 4, which I think is about $20 a month, then you have access to the last 2-3 years of the internet as well, okay? However, the good news is what we're talking about today is editing, not content production, but editing. Last time I checked, punctuation rules and grammar rules have not changed since I was a little girl, and I'm in my mid-40s now. You know, punctuation and grammar and things like that don't change all that much. I mean, they do change because it's language, but we're talking about over decades and decades, centuries sometimes, not something that changes within years or months or anything like that. So the good news is, because we're talking about editing, this really shouldn't affect you. And that's why I'll actually be demonstrating today the prompts I use on the free version of ChatGPT. And the reason I'm doing that is to show you that you can edit things without having to pay for the fourth version of GPT. You don't have to do that because we're editing. If we're talking about content production, and I will be talking about that in a future forum meeting, then there is an argument why it's best to upgrade to ChatGPT 4. But for editing, you can get away with using the free version, and it works marvelously. Okay, so let me just go through a few. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come out of this, because I'm actually going to demonstrate these prompts, and that way I can just literally go like this. Oh, where's my cursor gone? Why don't I have a cursor anymore? There we go. Cursor. It means I'll be able to hopefully be able to just copy and paste things into. Yeah, I'll be able to copy and paste. Okay, so first thing that my editors do, they rewrite a lot of my clients' work in the active voice. Now, for people who don't know what the active voice is when someone is doing something as opposed to something being done to them. So let me give you a very simple, you know, when you're trying to think of a simple sentence and your mind goes blank and you can't. Okay, here's one. So the cat sat on the mat is an active voice, okay? The cat is the main subject. What did he or she do? They sat on a mat. Now, the passive version of that sentence would be the mat was sat on by the cat. It's convoluted, it's silly, adds extra words for no reason. Now, no one would ever say that because that's a very simple sentence. Like, who would actually say the mat was sat on by the cat? No one would say that. However, when you start getting into longer, complex sentences, a lot of us fall into the passive tense without meaning to. So what we can do is to make it clearer and easier for your reader to grasp your concepts and understand what you're trying to say to them, you want to make sure as much as you can, you stay in the active voice. But when you're creating a book or an article or anything like that, you don't realize that a lot of us do fall into a passive voice. So we can use ChatGPT. So let me show you how. Let's do, why is my, hang on, something screwy is going on with my, I'm going to stop sharing. Give me 2 minutes. There's something screwy going on with my cursor. There we go. That's better. Let me come back out of this. Yay. Got my cursor back again. I was wondering why my cursor disappeared to. Okay, so here is a great example. Let me move this out of the way. So the prompt that my editors use is rewrite this paragraph in an active voice. It doesn't have to be a paragraph, by the way. It could be a longer passage, okay? So rewrite this passage, rewrite this article in an active voice. It's actually quite good how much information you can put in one go. I don't recommend putting in a whole book, by the way, but you can certainly put in half a chapter or even whole chapters in, depending on how long the chapters are. So let's actually do that. I'm actually gonna put this into ChatGPT so you can see in real time what it comes up with. So I'm putting in the prompt, rewrite this chapter in an active voice, okay? And what it will do is, as you can see, it very, very quickly rewrites it in active voice. Much faster than you doing it. My editors love this because before regenerative AI, they would have to go through and rewrite everything in active voice. Whereas you can just now get AI to do it for you. Now, okay, this wouldn't have taken very long because it's only two or three sentences. But imagine if you had a huge article of about 4,000 words. How much time would you save by just putting it into ChatGPT and saying, rewrite this in an active voice, okay? Now, of course, what you need to do is you need to still read through it. This is the main thing to remember. AI is a tool. It is not there to replace human beings. Maybe in the future it will do. I mean, we could live in a horrible dystopian science fiction movie in a few years where, you know, we are, but I have no idea. But all I can do is tell you right now, you have to read through everything and make sure you're happy with it. Sometimes you'll find that you need to leave something in a passive voice. Not everything should be in an active voice. It's just majority-wise, your book or your article, whatever it is that you're writing, should be in an active voice. Okay, so remember that prompt. You know, whatever you're writing, put it into ChatGPT and tell it to put it into active voice. You'll be amazed how many times you've fallen into a passive voice without realizing. I don't know where it comes from. I wonder if it's school. I wonder if most textbooks are written in a passive voice. And I wonder if that's where we picked it up. I don't actually know where we picked it up, but most of us do this. We fall into a passive voice accidentally when we should be in the active voice. Get ChatGPT or other, if you're using Gemini like me, or you're using Claude. I think there's another one called Claude that I haven't used, another one called Pi or P, I don't know how to say it, that I haven't used. Whatever it is using, they all work in a very similar fashion. You can get it to put something into an active voice. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Next one, oh, moved too fast. Here we go. Next one is using ChatGPT for conciseness. My editors love it for this. One of the big things that editors do, still do, and definitely did before regenerative AI like ChatGPT, is the goal of, I always say the goal of an editor is to take your work, to take your words and make it more powerful in fewer words. People don't thank you for making them read tons and tons of words, okay? They don't thank you. People's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter every year. So if you can say something in 10 words instead of 30 words, you say it in 10 words. However, the caveat here is you don't want to reduce it down to such an extent that you lose the power. Sometimes something needs 30 words to explain it. Then you use 30 words. And that's the art of a great editor. They're able to go through your work and create conciseness where it's needed, but not to the point where it loses the power of what you're trying to say. And what's brilliant now is my editors are now using ChatGPT to make it so much faster for them to do. So let's look at an example here. Oh, where have I gone here? Okay, so the prompt is rewrite this paragraph or passage or whatever you article, rewrite this paragraph succinctly. Okay, so let's put that in. Let's see what it does with this. So you can see it in action. So if I put this in here. And there you go. It's reduced it by about 20%, I'm thinking, about 20%, or maybe 15%. It's reduced it. And again, remember, you got to have the human in the loop. You never just go, okay, that will do, and just stick it wherever you want. Whether that's an article, a blog, or whatever you do, you need to read through and make sure it's okay. So, for example, the original one was the research delved into the relationship between it is wordy, between dietary habits and PTSD symptoms. The study found that individuals following a Mediterranean diet had fewer PTSD symptoms. Notably, they identified, yeah, that is wordy. So let's see what's come up with. Research explored how dietary habits relate to PTSD symptoms. They discovered that adhering to a Mediterranean diet correlated with reduced PTSD. Yeah, I could, but then this is why I don't get rid of my editors, because there's some of it where I don't like. I don't like the word correlated. I think it's an unnecessary word. I actually preferred, I think they used link here. Yeah. So what I would do is I would use mainly this, but use elements of this. So I would, instead of, I would say diet linked with reduced PTSD symptoms. And that's exactly what my editors do. They use AI as a tool to help them, but they don't just let it go run off rampant and go, okay, we're just using this passage. They will still read through it and go, yeah, I don't like that word. I could actually put a link was easier. Why are we using a convoluted word when we could just use link? So they would probably change that to linked. Yeah. This is the best way to do it. Use it as a tool. Don't use it as a thing that just takes over from you. Let's look at the next one. This one I love. This one you can use not just for books. You can use this for articles, for ads, for sales pages, for landing pages, using AI for increasing persuasiveness. Because if you think about it, if you're a business owner, a brand owner, or not even a nonprofit, most of the content that you create as a brand or business owner or a nonprofit leader is to persuade people, whether it's persuading people directly to buy something from you or work with you, or if it's more indirect, just persuading them that what you do and your mission and your cause is something that's important and you want them to adopt it. It's all about persuading people to your way of thinking. So if you can use AI to increase persuasiveness, think of how much better your entire business or brand or nonprofit will do. So it's very simple. The prompt we use is make this paragraph or article or whatever more persuasive. So here we've got, let's actually put this in. So we're talking about, this is about persuading somebody that eating a healthy diet is important. Okay, that's essentially what it is. And it's telling them that you should try to include fruit and vegetables and whole grains, etc., etc. How could this be more persuasive? You can see how it's doing that. Ensuring a diet is crucial. Crucial is far more impactful than important. Crucial sounds more important than important, if that makes sense. So what it's doing, it's changing words around to make it more persuasive. That's really, really good. You can even, I mean, something some people don't like, but this actually works really well, is sometimes what my editors do, and I will direct them to do this, is in some books, we'd even say, let's make this more persuasive by talking about the negatives. There's a reason why if you open a newspaper or you switch on the TV news, it's all bad news. Where's the good news? There's lots of good stuff happening in the world, by the way, but we never hear about that. The reason why is good news doesn't get anywhere near as much attention as bad news. It's just the way we're wired. I mean, you've got to have to speak to someone more intelligent than me regarding biologically why we are that way. But we are wired to pay attention to bad news. So you can even, instead of just saying, make this paragraph more persuasive, you can even add something else in. You can say, make this paragraph more persuasive by emphasizing the negatives of not eating healthily. For example, I'm just doing this on the fly. And now it's rewritten it, telling people what will happen to them which is far more impactful than just saying, you know, this is more positive. A healthy weight, lower your risk of chronic diseases, providing your body with the nutrients. Instead, it's now gone into, this is what will go wrong. So instead of it will manage your weight, now you're more prone to weight gain. So you can even use it to take something and make it more negative to agitate the problem, because sometimes that increases persuasiveness. This is coming from a copywriting background, so that's why I'm doing that. So use AI to help you do that. Can you see how much it will save you so much time rather than having to think for yourself and go, okay, how do I agitate the negatives here? Do that, but then read through it and change elements of it to suit you. Yeah? So I hope that's a good prompt for you to use. This one I love, using ChatGPT for changing the tone of voice. My editors use this a lot. And again, they're so happy now that they've got AI because it's cut their work by half. I remember if it cuts their work by half, they charge me less, which means I charge my clients less. Everyone is happy. So this is what it's all about. It's using AI as a tool to make you more productive, because then that means you save time, you save energy, and you save money a lot of the times, okay? So one of the main things we do with tone of voice is, this happens to a lot of my clients, when they're writing a book, it's suddenly like, I jokingly call it like they've swallowed an English professor. When I speak to them on one-to-one, they're just lovely, friendly people. They're just talking like me. And they go off to write their books, and suddenly it's like they're using all these long, convoluted words. And I'm like, why? Why are you doing that? And I think it happens because people think that's what's expected of them to write a book. It's not, folks. Okay, especially these kinds of books. If you're writing a book for thought leadership, if you're writing a book for personal branding, to get your mission, your cause, your values out there, people want to see the human being behind the book. Now, if you're sounding really cold and authoritative and clinical, are they going to like you? Of course they're not. I mean, that doesn't mean you have to you don't have to sound like you've gone to the pub with them or anything like that, but you've got to sound approachable. And sometimes when people create books, especially, I've noticed, but even with articles sometimes, it's like they suddenly take on this really cold clinical tone. You can do that. You can put your passages into ChatGPT and you can say, rewrite in a friendly tone. So let's actually put that in. Let's see what happens here. So if I'm going to put rewrite in a friendly tone. And again, it's instantly made it friendlier. Now, do I say use it? I'm going to sound like a broken record. Never, ever just use something that AI spits out at you. It's giving you something to work on. It's not the finished article. So for example, I really, really don't like, hey there, ever heard of species? I'm not talking to a 14-year-old. That's too friendly for me now. So you can change bits of it, but it's so much easier to change elements of something that already exists rather than having to start from scratch and say, oh my God, how do I make this sound friendlier? It's really, really difficult. And that's what I love about this kind of, you know, generative AI, in that it gives you something to work off. It's really helped me. It's really helped my editors as well. It's cut their time down by at least 50%, sometimes more, closer to 60% of time that they've now been able to cut down, which means they can charge me less. It means I charge my clients less for editing their books. Everyone is happier, you know? So use these if you want to rewrite in another tone. I've even got one gentleman who was playing around with this, and you can get people, you can rewrite things in tones of famous people. So you can, I know, I haven't actually played around with that, but you can actually say, rewrite as if you're Tony Robbins. And it will actually rewrite it as if it was Tony Robbins, using the way he speaks and the words that he uses. You can say, you can even have fun with it. You can even say rewrite as, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of somebody else, who's Jack Nicholson or someone like that, and see what it comes up with. It can actually be quite fun to see things rewritten. Persuasiveness, we talked about that earlier. You can even say, if you have a specific copywriter that you really like, you know, someone famous that you've read a lot of, you know, of their books, you can actually rewrite sections of your sales pages, your landing pages, your ads, and say, rewrite as a famous copywriter that you know, and it will rewrite it the way that person writes. So play around with it because it's really, really powerful stuff. As long as the main thing you remember is you don't just go, okay, great, I'm just going to use that, copy and stick it to wherever you want. That's the worst thing that you can do. Use it as a way to cut down the time, but then still make it your own, okay? I think I've just got one more prompt to show you. This is a big one, okay? It's a simple thing, and yet it really does help my editors cut down the amount of time. So one of my biggest things that I impart to all of my clients is your book is designed to be a link to your audience. It's going to give them the most complete version of who you are, the person, the human being behind the brand or business or nonprofit, what you stand for, how you show up in the world, your mission, your cause, your values. You need to sound approachable. You don't want to sound clinical. One of the quickest ways, one of the very quickest ways to sound approachable and friendly is to use contractions. What I mean by contractions, for people don't know, it's usually apostrophes. So instead of saying I am, you say I'm. Instead of saying do not, you say don't. That's one of the easiest ways to make yourself sound approachable and friendly and someone that people can come up to and ask questions, which is exactly what you want, rather than this cold clinical person on a pedestal somewhere that you just can't reach. Not what you want, especially if you're writing a book for personal branding and thought leadership. So it's very, very simple to do. So here we go. The prompt is rewrite to add contractions. And you get it to add contractions. So let's actually put this in. And what it should do is just go through it and add in contractions. So here we go. Let's see what it's added in. So here we go. They had their many awards and the global recognition they have received are testament to so instead they changed that to they've received. Yeah, that instantly, you don't lose any power, but it just instantly sounds more friendly. They won't. What did they change that to? Not just for mission and values, but they will not. Yes, instead of will not, they change it to won't. But see, again, this is a perfect example. Don't just use it as is, because sometimes you don't want to contract something. Sometimes you don't. The most famous example I will give you is Descartes, who's famous for I think, therefore I am. Imagine if that got contracted to I think, therefore I'm. That doesn't even make sense. That's not even a sentence. Most people they'll go, okay, I think, therefore I'm what? What are you? They'll be expecting you to finish the sentence. So can you see how sometimes contractions shouldn't be there? Sometimes you need to have I am, especially in that quote, I think, therefore I am. It has to be I am. If you contract that to I'm, it no longer makes sense. You lose the power and it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you need to say do not instead of don't, because do not is more powerful than don't. So this is what I mean about don't just copy and paste whatever AI spits out at you and use it. You need to read through it and say, okay, that contraction I liked. That can be contracted, but they will not. I think maybe we need to keep will not here because that's more powerful, but they will not be successful if they do not have supportive policies, infrastructures, and stakeholders. But they won't be, yeah. See that, I'm pretty sure my editors will be like, no, that's a contraction too far. Let's leave it as will not, that's more powerful. So the main thing I want you to gain out of this, let me go back to here. Actually, I've finished, so let me just stop the share. The main thing I want you to take from this, and by the way, you will get all these prompts, as I said, in a workbook, plus 3 or 4 more prompts that I can't cover today. You'll get everything in a workbook sent to you tomorrow morning. But the main thing I want you to remember is, I keep using this phrase because I heard it a few weeks ago, human in the loop. Remember that phrase, human in the loop. You've got to be the human that's in the loop. You don't just let AI take over from you. That's not what AI is for. Not now anyway. Like I said, in the future, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen in the future. But right now, you can't just let AI run amok. It doesn't work. But as long as you keep you, or if you've got assistants, if you keep people in the loop, a human being in the loop, then it works really, really well to cut down time and effort, and therefore saves you money as well. Okay. So what are your thoughts, guys? I've done my presentation. I'd love to know your thoughts. Let's see. Oh, Antonia says she's had to go for a staff meeting. Excellent. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts? Please feel free to unmute and ask. By the way, did this cover what you were thinking? Has this helped you and made you understand how you can use AI for editing?
Yeah, but what's the simple way of getting ChatGPT or Gemini to not translate British English into American English, which it did in all your examples?
Oh, yes. You can actually tell it right at the beginning. I forgot to do that. You can tell it right at the beginning and say, I need you to work with me in British English today, or something like that. You can actually put that in. Yes, that's annoying, isn't it? It's, yeah. I'm sick of seeing, the Z comes out instead of, the S for things. And
yeah.
Yes.
And then OR instead of OUR and things like that.
Exactly. Although I'm sure they get sick. They're like, why are you using extra letters and things? I don't understand. So yeah, it's swings and roundabouts. But yeah, you can get it to do that. And also remember, so do you use Grammarly, Katrina?
No.
Grammarly is really, I've been using Grammarly for a number of years anyway, but they've now added in AI into Grammarly, which is really powerful, because now that means, because you can switch Grammarly, you can actually switch on a toggle and say which type of English you want it to edit in. So there's British English, there's Australian English, there's US English, and there's Canadian English. So therefore now it will be creating stuff for you, but also it's mindful of which English you're using. So I'm finding Grammarly is really, really good for that, for actually making sure it stays in British English. Or sometimes I have a lot of clients over in the States, so we need to use US English as well. That's a good way. Michael says Grammarly has saved my life several times. You should send that to them as a testimonial. I think they'd love that, if it's actually saved your life. But yeah, I love Grammarly. I have it's switched on all the time, and it really, really, it does help. And yeah, and now the fact that they've added in AI into it, it's really, really good. Any questions or any feedback? Give me your thoughts. Have you started using AI to go through editing? Have you used it to create articles or anything like that, or even books?
Oh, well, I thought it was excellent presentation that you gave there, because I work as a copywriter, so I've been using ChatGPT only as a research tool and to get different perspectives and ideas. So I was interested to learn it from an editing. I've never used it as an editing tool before.
Use it, Franz. In fact, it's more, I would say I get more scared sometimes using it for brainstorming. Is good. I use it for brainstorming, but that's where we worry sometimes about what we call hallucinations. And that sometimes Katrina's like nodding her head, she's experienced that, where sometimes it will go and get the wrong information. I think currently I hear there's a lawsuit against OpenAI. I think someone in the States is actually suing OpenAI because it said on ChatGPT that he was embezzling something, or is it some kind of fraud that he was doing? And he wasn't doing any fraud. So basically it put 2 and 2 together and made 16 or something like that. I know it's done that with me. When you sometimes search for me inside ChatGPT, it takes my business and it mixes it up with another business based on the States called Vegan Publishers. And they get mixed up with me. So sometimes if you are researching me on ChatGPT, suddenly you'll find that I've got a business over in the States apparently, and I'm doing this and that I've never done before. And that gentleman sometimes gets mixed up with me. So that can happen. Whereas what we're doing today, we're talking about editing. It can't really get this wrong, because as I said, things like contractions and grammar and going into the active voice, that's not changed for decades.
No, exactly.
Centuries. Yeah. So you actually have more, I guess you have more understanding and more faith that you're actually going to be okay with editing more so than brainstorming and content creation, because that's where you have to worry.
Yeah.
That's where people are always like, make sure you check. Don't just take whatever AI says and just put it out there, because you could get yourself.
Well, I think there's an awful lot of content out there that is definitely generated by copy and paste from ChatGPT, and I think that's a real shame, and it's a great misuse of the technology as well, because it is good technology if you use it properly, but if you're lazy and just do copy and paste, then you're just going to get
what I
rubbish.
was talking about, Francis, human in the loop. They've decided to just take the human out of the loop. It's like, no. Like I said, my editors charge me a lot of money. If there was a way that I would trust generative AI to be able to edit completely without a human, then of course I would move in that. As a business owner, I would have to move in that direction. But there is no way. I mean, I've seen it. You have to have a human in the loop. You have to. There's absolutely no way that I can trust ChatGPT or Gemini or anything else to edit my clients' books without a human being in the loop.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you can tell the difference. Like you said, you can tell when, I always say, when people say, oh, I can tell when comments, or I can tell when an article has been created by AI. And so, but what about the articles that you didn't realize that people use AI on? Because if you think about it, AI is like, it's like a bad wig, isn't it? It's like, when someone's wearing a wig only because it's a bad wig. But how many people are walking around with wigs that you don't realize are wearing wigs because the wigs are fantastic? So it's the same thing. It's all about using AI in a very, very cognizant and human in the loop way, as opposed to, I'm just going to let it take over. And that's when it goes wrong, and you can notice it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a good example of a hallucination. I was asked to write my biography for a talk I was giving, and I thought, okay, I'll just ask ChatGPT, because I always struggle writing a biography because you don't want to sing your own praises too much.
Yes.
And I said, please write a biography on Katrina Clulow, FCI and Chartered Marketeer. Well, first of all, it decided I lived in New Zealand and I was an artist, and that person doesn't exist. And then it decided I was a university lecturer here in the UK, and that person doesn't exist. So
that's even worse than mine, because at least mine, it mixed me up with a real person that I actually know. I know the gentleman who owns vegan publishers in the US. So it was literally creating people for you.
Yeah, it literally created people. And I know a solicitor in the UK lost a case because they did their research on case law using ChatGPT, and it made up case law. It didn't actually exist. So you do have, so that's why I don't use it for, I might say, write me a LinkedIn post on, I look at it and then go, all right. And then I write it again from scratch, but using a couple of the points after I checked that they're real. But I had never thought of using ChatGPT as an editor. I'd use the editor in Microsoft
kind of think
Word.
It as content creation. I'm like, no, I think because I'm lucky, and because I'm not an editor, by the way. I can't think of much worse than editing. It's just, I'm a big picture kind of person. I can't be bothered going through someone's book and trying to find all the errors. But then my editors, that's what they love. They love that detailed work. But they rave about it. And that's what I was like, oh, this is fantastic. And I thought I had to create a presentation, because so people, not even just for books, if you're just writing articles, or you can really level up your writing. And it's a great way of doing it. And as I've just demonstrated, you can use the free version. You don't even need the paid version of ChatGPT, because this one, you're not creating content. It's content you've already created, but you're editing it. So you can really trust it, because as I've said before, punctuation rules and grammar rules haven't changed for decades. This, what I was taught when I was 7 or 8 years old in school, it still works today. Nothing has really changed. So you can use it for editing. Excellent. So what I'd love to do is just gives you a taster of the kind of things that I help with my clients and help them write the best books possible. So I'm assuming most of you here you're thinking of writing a book, or you're possibly already an author as well. So if you're thinking of writing a book, I would love to speak to you, because there's only so much I can speak today. We're already nearly close to closing time. But let me just show you quickly how you can book a one-to-one with me, because I'd love to speak to some of you and really help you work out what your book is, and all the things that I can help you to create that book and make it a success. Let me just quickly go back to my screen. So hopefully you can see this. In fact, hopefully now I should be able to do that. Oh, not from beginning. Wrong. Oh, I'm going to have to slide through. When technology doesn't want to work with me. Okay, so this just gives you an idea of the kinds of things my clients are doing. I do help people write books for the specific reason of personal branding and thought leadership. If you're writing a book for other reasons, not that there's anything wrong with that, I'm not the person who can help you. Let me put that out there as a disclaimer. If you're writing fiction, if you're writing poetry, if you're writing a memoir, I'm not the woman to help you, because I wouldn't know the first thing about those things, because I've never written them before and I don't have clients like that. But if you do have a brand, a business, or a nonprofit, you have a bigger mission that you want to get out there, and you want to become a thought leader and have people adopt your ideas, then that's the sort of thing I help people with. So as you can see, I've had many of my clients on national TV, in national newspapers, working with influencers. If that's the sort of thing, the kind of visibility that you think will help you and your brand or business, get in touch with me. And this is just one lady that I've helped. As you can see, what she wanted is, she didn't feel she was an experienced author. She says she didn't go to school for writing or journalism or English literature. That is the main kind of people that I help with. If you're the sort of person who thinks I'm not a writer, speak to me. I've even had 2 gentlemen who were severely dyslexic who are now published authors. So I actually don't do creative writing or any of that kind of stuff. There's other publishers for that. What I do is I help people who have a big mission they want to get out there in a big way. So even if you're terrible with grammar, as I've just demonstrated for you today, you don't even need to have good grammar or good punctuation. You can get ChatGPT to do it for you. It's that simple. So get in touch with me. What I do is I show you the entire road to thought leadership. So I show you how to plan and write your book specifically for personal branding and thought leadership. We'll then show you how we do the editing, design, and publishing. And we even help you with the post-publishing marketing and PR, because that's important as well. You can write an amazing book, but if you don't have a clue how you're going to get it out to market, what's the point in writing the thing in the first place? So we help you strategize the entire thing. So if you join me for a call, it's in 3 parts. We'll talk about your book ideas. We'll work out whether thought leadership is right for you. It might not be. I'm very, very honest and very strict. And I tell people if I don't think this is right for them, I actually tell you on the call, I don't think this is right for you. So we will work out whether it's thought leadership is right for you. We'll work out what process will get you to where you want to be as a thought leader. And only if it's suitable and it fits the process that will get you there, then we can look at my program and I can go through things like how much time it takes, how much it costs, etc., etc. But only if it's suitable. Okay. So I would love for you guys to join me on a call. Let me just put this link into the chat now. So anybody wants to do that, go. So there it is. If you haven't joined me, I know Michael's already had a call with me. I hope you found it very productive, Michael. But yes, join me for a call and let me help you strategize your book and figure out where it's going. And first of all, figure out whether it's a good idea. I've had so many people who've had a call with me and they've ditched their book idea because I warned them off it. And I said, look, this might not be the best idea for you. I don't think it's going to work for you. So it's a great way for you to find out whether your idea has legs, if you want to call it that. Because what I don't want is people writing books for the sake of writing books. It's time and energy that I'm sure you could place better elsewhere, unless the book really gives you a huge return on investment. Okay, so I've just got a few more minutes. Any more questions or any more feedback, thoughts? Have I stunned you all into silence now?
I really like the idea of changing the tone of voice.
That's great, isn't it? Although your
Yeah.
tone is great, though, Michael. I've read a couple of your chapters, so you.
I know, but I'm thinking like it could, like I could pretend to interview somebody.
Ooh, tell me more on that.
Well, let's say I want to interview Napoleon for his pull
Yeah.
name out of the hat. So I could be me talking to Napoleon, you know.
You
and
could.
ask him silly
You could.
questions and have some really pompous answers come back, you know. So I think it's something I'd really like to play around with. But
Make sure
in
you do. I
general,
mean, you can have
you know,
so
but-
much fun with this.
or
You
make
can
up
have so much
quotes,
fun.
you know, make
Yeah.
up quotes, you know.
You can have
What-
so much fun with this. The tone
Right.
is brilliant because it goes through the entire thing, and you have to remember it's not even halving your work. We're talking about it reduces your work by probably 99%
Yeah.
because it has the power. Even the 3.5 version of ChatGPT, which is only using the internet from I think January 2022 and earlier, but that's still nearly 25 years of the internet. You
Right.
know, it's only missing the last 2 to 3 years. And it just means it's got all of this information that it's using to create a tone of voice. So
Right.
it's amazing that it can do that. It's absolutely amazing. It amazes me because I just wonder, like, you know, I started off my, you know, career in ghostwriting and now helping people publish books. I started as a copywriter. And it used to take me so long to get the tone right and
Yeah.
make sure that I've really understood what this client is all about and speaking in their voice. And it used to take me so long. And I just think, oh my God, if I had generative AI back in 2013, I could have had 5-6 times the number of clients. I could have written 5-6 times the number of sales pages and landing pages and ads for them if I had generative AI, because it just cuts down the amount of time.
That's just it.
So
Yeah.
much.
I mean, I'm a designer, so it's analogous to when computers first, you know, got into graphic design. And I had a lot of friends who were like traditional designers who were lamenting the fact they can no longer do mechanical. You know, they were lamenting the fact that we were losing all the grunt work, you know, which is a great deal of design. And I was like thrilled. I was like, because I
Well,
hate
I think
stuff.
AI is going to be very similar to
Yeah.
when the birth of the internet and
Right.
also later on the smartphone, you know, where it just takes over. So we kind of have to get on board with it. Now, I do have some worries about who's controlling it. I worry about you know, with AI, it's if we rely on it too much, you have to remember generative AI only works because of human input going in. For now, getting to the stage where we're not putting into the well much anymore.
Right.
At some point, the well's going to run dry. So I worry about that over time. But where we are right now, I'm excited. It really, it helps me. I don't even think I've even scratched the surface of what I can do. I've actually started a new program, which is actually going to show me how to implement more AI into my business in places that I'm not using AI. So it excites me because it's just going to make me more productive, more efficient. And if I become more productive and efficient, it just means I'm a better person for helping my clients write these books and make a huge impact in the world. So it's exciting time. Any other questions? I'm not running a little bit over time, but I do have a few more minutes. If you've got any questions.
Yeah, I've got a suggestion that people might find helpful.
Yes.
You can actually teach generative AI style guides. So you can ask it to create a style guide for you, and then you can adapt it, and then you can keep that as a prompt that you then, if you're writing something new, you just say, here's my style guide, and you upload that, and then it writes you know, according
That's
to
a
your
really good suggestion. I've already done that. I've already done that with it. I didn't bring it into because I've only have 45 minutes, Christopher.
No, I get it.
And it's brilliant. I love that because what we have with the vegan publishers, we mainly use the Chicago Manual of Style, but then we have a few tweaks to it. There's a few things in the Chicago Manual of Style that I don't like. For example, I'm not a fan of, we call it the Oxford comma. I think it's called the Harvard comma.
Well, that's an American thing.
What is with this extra commas that people are throwing around? I can't stand it. But Chicago Manual Style advocates the use of the Oxford / Harvard comma. But then what I've done is I put it into ChatGPT 4, my paid version of ChatGPT. It understands that I want everything in the Chicago style of manual but with these caveats that I don't like, which is my main. And I love that. And again, it's made my editor's life so much easier because they can just put things in, and that style manual is being added to all the output. Yes, they have to still check it, but it's just made their life so much easier. So yeah, that's a fantastic shout. Like that. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you. My phone is just pinged, so I don't know who it is, but one of you's booked in, or maybe someone's already gone. So I'm looking forward to speaking to you. But yes, please do, if you want a conversation regarding whether writing a book is a good idea for you, and if it is, how you go about it, book yourself in a call with me, and we can go through strategies such as ChatGPT and how to use it. We can go through all of that with you. Thank you so much, and thank you, Karim. I really appreciate it. Thank you all. Thank you, Emma. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Christopher. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Francis. And yes, I will see you hopefully at another forum meeting on Wednesday. Speak to you all soon.
Okay.
Bye.